We all look for shortcuts in life, don't we?
Oh, absolutely.
Finding the fastest route, the quickest way to learn something new.
Yeah.
But what if the real shortcut, especially for something complex like, say, investing or trading, what if it's not what you think?
Mm-hmm.
So today we're doing a deep dive into this really interesting idea from a source called Discipline, the real trading shortcut.
Okay.
And what really jumped out at me was this concept. It introduces the Bougie-Lactas syndrome.
Right.
It sort of hints that our own feelings, our perceptions, might actually be the biggest roadblock.
That's exactly it. And it is quite counterintuitive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because this source is basically saying discipline, which, we often see as the long, hard path, is actually the most direct route, the real efficiency.
Okay.
And figuring out that gap, the one between how we see things and how they really are, that's apparently key for you to unlock this advantage.
Okay, let's unpack this. This Bougie-Lactas syndrome.
Yeah.
The source puts it pretty bluntly. Bougie-Lactas syndrome se bahne. Lopne trading investing plan ko bina bias, follow caro.
Mm-hmm.
No, Bougie-Lactas. It literally means I feel or I think.
Right. Like a gut feeling.
Exactly. So it's about, acting on those feelings, those hunches that maybe aren't backed by anything solid instead of sticking to your actual plan.
Right.
But isn't there sometimes a place for intuition, for that gut feel in big decisions like investing?
That is a really good question, and that's where it gets nuanced.
Okay.
The source isn't saying intuition is, always bad. It's more about those unverified perceptions.
Oh, okay. Unverified.
Yeah, the feelings that aren't actually grounded in your plan or the objective data, those are the dangerous ones.
Yeah.
It's about not letting a random "I feel like" just completely derail a strategy you built carefully.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating is how this syndrome links straight into, cognitive bias.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about those before.
Exactly. Those mental shortcuts our brain takes that can, totally mess up even great plans, especially when the stakes are high, like in investing.
So things like confirmation bias or anchoring.
Precisely. Maybe you only look for news that confirms your gut feeling, ignoring other signals, or you get stuck on a price. You know those moments, right? You're about to make a trade, your system says stop, but your gut is screaming, go on, just a bit more.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
That's the Bougie-Lactas trying to take over. So when the source says follow the plan without bias, it's really urging us to actively fight against these, very human tendencies to go off script.
And it really hammers this home with another line.
Mm-hmm.
Reality perceptions say alag ho sakte hai. Reality can be different from perception.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite a wake-up call, isn't it? What are the real dangers when our, internal story just doesn't match the market facts?
Well, the dangers are significant. Reality and perception drift apart because our minds are built to interpret, find patterns, sometimes patterns that aren't really there or that we just want to see.
Right. Wishful thinking.
Exactly. And that difference, that gap, is precisely why sticking to a plan with discipline instead of just reacting emotionally is so crucial. It protects you.
Okay, so if reality can be different and our brains might mislead us, how does discipline actually work to fix that? How does it shield us from our own Bougie-Lactas?
Well, think of discipline as your pre-flight checklist for your finances. You decide beforehand using logic and data what you'll do in different situations. So when things get shaky or emotional in the market, you don't fall back on that vague, I feel like.
You fall back on the plan.
Exactly. You fall back on the rules you already set. It's about consciously using objective rules to override those subjective biases.
And this is where the source kind of flips the whole idea of a shortcut on its head.
Mm-hmm.
Because it then says, very directly, discipline hi profit kasi shortcut hai. Discipline is the real shortcut to profit.
Which, raises that big question. Why? Why is discipline the shortcut? It sounds like the opposite, doesn't it? Like the long way.
It really does.
But think about it this way. It cuts through all the noise and chaos. Imagine an investor without discipline. They might spend weeks chasing every rumor, reacting to every little market dip or spike.
Getting stressed out.
Yeah.
Making impulsive buys or sell.
Totally. Getting whipsawed, probably losing money, definitely wasting time and mental energy.
Right.
The disciplined investor. By just consistently following their plan, they avoid all that drama. They avoid the losses from impulsive moves.
So the consistency saves time, energy, and crucially, capital.
Exactly. Which, over time, makes it the fastest, most reliable way to potentially get consistent results. It's about systematically dodging those common mistakes, those emotional traps, and just the sheer inconsistency that comes from winging it.
So the main takeaway here isn't about finding some secret trick or moving faster.
No.
It's the steady, unbiased sticking to a solid plan. That's what the source means by discipline.
Yes.
The actual direct route.
Precisely. And, you know, this idea doesn't just apply to trading. I'd really encourage you, the listener, to think about other parts of your life. Where might Mujilagda-Hay syndrome be tripping you up? Where are you maybe acting on feelings without a solid plan? Could applying a more disciplined approach, like the source suggests, actually be your shortcut to getting better results there, too?
Definitely something to reflect on. Okay, that wraps up this deep dive.